All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video as we have breaking news in Ninerland. We'll touch on that coming up next. But first, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. And they do run out. So get there early, get some brisket chili. Tell them the Krug sent you. Also, this video is brought to you by our friends at Mancini Sleep World. Their huge Memorial Day sale is on live now through June the 9th. That's right. It's still going on. You can save up to $1,200 on select adjustable mattress sets. Plus, they're throwing an extra 10% if you're a fan of the Krug Show. It's all backed with their Rest Easy promise, best price guarantee, 365-night comfort guarantee, and free next day delivery. And if you've been thinking about upgrading your bed, now's the time. Just make sure you jump on it before June the 9th and make sure you use our promo code KRUG10 at checkout because you'll save an additional 10%. You got a $5,000 mattress, you're going to save $500 just because you type in KRUG10 at checkout. That's $500 additionally to what you would normally save. So KRUG10 at checkout at any of Mancini's locations or online at sleepworld.com. All right, we have breaking news today. The 49ers are making moves, and, this one is interesting. The 49ers earlier today made a signing. They signed Thomas Morstead, the veteran punter who had been with the New York Jets. And this definitely caught, I think, a lot of people by surprise when the Niners signed Morstead, simply because I think, the Niners invested a fourth-round pick in Mitch Wishnowsky. But the Niners are signing veteran punter Thomas Morstead, and he's entering his 17th NFL season. He spent the last 2 years with the Jets, with Brant Boyer and Robert Saleh. He started his career with an impressive 12-season run with the Saints. And, so this guy's a seasoned specialist. This guy also had brief stops with the Falcons and the Dolphins over his NFL career. He's averaged 46.5 yards per punt and 41.5 net yards per punt, according to Pro Football Reference. So what does this mean for Mitch Wishnowsky? Well, Matt Mayoko is reporting the Niners are likely going to part ways with Mitch Wishnowsky after the recent signing of Thomas Morstead. So Morstead is in and Mitch Wishnowsky is out, it sounds like. He only appeared, Mitch Wishnowsky did, in 9 games last season. They put him on IR in November due to a back injury. The Niners invested a 4th-round pick in 2019 in Wishnowsky, and he's been with the Niners for 6 seasons and at times has done some really, really good things. But it sounds like either the Niners don't feel like Wishnowsky's good enough, or they feel like that back injury is going to linger, and they want to make sure that they've got a veteran punter. And so now they have Thomas Morstead and are going to part ways with Mitch Wishnowsky. So this is major news for sure in 49er land. I got to think that Wishnowsky's back injury is just more severe than they originally thought, or he just cannot get over it. Wishnowsky's a big athlete. He had some good numbers. It's not like Wishnowsky was one of the league's worst punters. He's a solid punter, I think, overall, when you look at the entire balance of his NFL career. But I really think this has to do with the injury. Either they felt like the injury was not going away, or was it going to be a recurring injury, or that it wasn't going to, the pain wasn't going to subside, and the Niners didn't want to have to go mid-season looking for a punter. So they signed Thomas Morstead. And obviously, Brant Boyer, the Niners' new special teams coach, knows Morstead well from the Jets. Robert Saleh obviously knows Morstead well from the Jets. So sad day for Mitch Wishnowsky if indeed he's losing his job because of the back injury. And the 49ers, hopefully they've learned their lesson. 4th-round punter, 3rd-round kicker. You got to be kidding me. Stop doing that. Stop investing day 2 and day 3 picks in specialists because there's no slam dunk. If you got Ray Guy, if you're drafting Morton Anderson or Sebastian Janikowski, and this is going to be your guy for the next 2 decades, that's one thing. But you can't guarantee that. So instead of trying to be smarter than everybody, how about this? How about sit it out and pick your kicker and your punter either from the veteran lot or in the free agent workout market after the draft, but no more draft choices for kickers and punters. You're not smarter than everybody else, and this proves it. Okay, a couple other 49er notes. Christian McCaffrey, if you're looking at this year, there's no question the guy that's got to bounce back is Christian McCaffrey. Last year, he was limited to 4 games. He began the year on injured reserve with the Achilles tendonitis, only to finish the year back on the IR due to the PCL injury. He finished last season with only 348 scrimmage yards and 0 touchdowns, which was an incredible contrast compared to the year before when he had 2,023 scrimmage yards and 21 total touchdowns. So there's no question that McCaffrey needs a bounce back year. And if the Niners are going anywhere, they need a bounce back year from Christian McCaffrey. Another interesting note that I think should be thrown out today. The Niners, we knew, were in the market for a running back. They went for Jordan James in the 5th round. They went for Corey Kiner after the draft. But it seems now they were considering drafting Cam Skattebo, who went to the New York Giants in the 4th round. And if he had been available when the Niners picked in the 4th round, he probably would have been a 49er. Skattebo said recently on a podcast, I actually thought I was going to end up going to San Francisco with that 100th pick. Vibes started getting high, lights started turning on, videos started turning on, and no phone call. So we woke up 9 a.m. the next morning on Saturday, and we knew it was going to be within the first 10 picks because the Niners, the Giants, the Titans, and somebody else had another pick back to back to back, and I knew one of those teams was going to take me. I didn't know which one, and then the Giants called. The 49ers also had pick number 113. Maybe they wanted to use that pick on Skattebo. Instead, the Giants took Skattebo at pick number 105, and the 49ers wound up taking C.J. West when they were on the clock at 113. So I thought that was kind of interesting. A lot of Niner fans wanted to see Cam Skattebo in a 49er uniform, and it sounded like it almost happened, but not quite, and then the Giants jumped in. If the Giants had not jumped in, would the Niners have taken Skattebo instead of C.J. West? Possibly. That was, that's something I guess we'll never really know. As far as Brock Purdy, the contract is done. We're eager to see what Brock looks like in the minicamp. One stat that I saw this week that I thought was interesting, fantasy points per dropback is one of the most predictive quarterback stats. And the top 6 in this stat since 2022 are Lamar Jackson, number 1, Jalen Hurts, number 2, Josh Allen, number 3, Justin Fields, number 4, Jaden Daniels, number 5, and sure enough, Brock Purdy, number 6. It's funny, we always talk about what Brock has done, but nobody ever talks about what the Niners or Iowa State looked like without Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's missed 3 games in his Niner career. In those 3 games, the Niners have been outscored. The Niners are 0-3 and have been outscored 116-41 without him. They got beat 31-7 by the Eagles in the NFC Championship game without Brock. They got beat last year 38-10 with Brandon Allen at quarterback against Green Bay, and then they got beat 47-24 with Dobbs at quarterback against the Cardinals in the last game of the year. The other thing, Brock Purdy was always over 500 at Iowa State, which is hardly a football power. The first year that he wasn't at Iowa State, they went 1-8 in the conference. So very interesting. I'll be interested to see what Brock looks like this year. Where he says he wants to improve is going through his progressions and his processing faster, getting across the field faster. If you looked at his numbers last year, he had the 6th highest time to throw, 2.93 seconds, but the 9th highest pressure rate, 36.9%. It really does indicate that he held the ball too long last year. And part of that is on Shanahan. He's got to incorporate a little bit more quick game, a little bit more of the screen game, get the ball out of his hands by design, a little quicker. But it's also up to Brock to play with more rhythm. And, he's got to process faster, and he's got to get through his progressions faster. And he's got to play with more rhythm. He lost his rhythm last year, and it showed. By the way, a couple other Brock Purdy notes. He's now the highest paid player in Niner history. He's the only quarterback from the 22 draft class to get a contract extension, and he's the only quarterback from the 22 draft class with his original team. So how about that? Also, there's a lot of talk about what the Niners still need. A lot of people suggesting they should go after Julian Blackmon, Amari Cooper, Gabe Davis, Keenan Allen. I'm looking at the Niners going, hey, go after Trey Hendrickson. He had 17 and a half sacks last year. One area that the Niners really struggled was pass rush. They finished the year last year tied for 23rd in sacks with 37, 17th in quarterback knockdowns with 43, 27th in quarterback hurries, 27th in quarterback pressures. Hendrickson's got 17 and a half sacks in each of the last 2 seasons. He'd immediately upgrade the Niners' defensive line, make it one of the best in the league. I would do it. The Niners have $40 million in available cap room. Or somewhere between 40 and 52.3 million. So the Niners have a lot of cap flexibility. They can add players at the deadline. They could trade for somebody in the summer, or they could roll that cap space into 2026. And I think they'll probably do some combination of both. But Trey Hendrickson is the guy. And to me, that's the guy that I would go after. This guy was granted permission by the Bengals in March to seek a trade, and he's refusing to play until he gets a new contract. He's a relentless defender off the edge. The guy's got all kinds of moves and counters, makes plays late in the down, 17 and a half sacks and 65 pressures were both league highs in 2024. This guy is what the Niners wanted to get out of Javon Hargrave, somebody who's going to consistently get doubled and give them one of the great defensive lines in the league. The Niners also have a lot of young DBs, and you want to block this guy from going to Green Bay or Minnesota or Detroit or Kansas City or Philadelphia. So, man, if you could get this guy, and they're talking about one trade I saw was the Niners would get Hendrickson in a 6th, and they would give up a 2nd and 2 4ths. They have 3 4ths in next year's draft. I'd do that. I would absolutely do that. If I could get Trey Hendrickson for a 2nd-round pick and 2 4th-round picks, I would do it in a heartbeat. The Niners have blown 10 third-round draft choices alone in this regime since 2017. So I absolutely, if I could get Trey Hendrickson, I absolutely would do it. Also, a couple other 49er notes. Happy birthday, Navarro Bowman, one of the great players in Niner history. Appreciate Navarro Bowman greatly. He's one of my favorites. And the numbers are out on Fred Warner's salary. His base deal for 2025 is $1.255 million. His salary cap number for the season was reduced by $13.1 million and by $16.9 million in 2026 as a result of the extension. So that gives the Niners more flexibility. If you look at his base salary year by year, 2025, 1.2, 2026, 1.6, 2027, 15.3, 2028, 20 million, 2029, 20.1 million. Warner definitely, with this extension, it helps the team. He's rewarded with 56.7 million in guaranteed money. That's why he did it. But the Niners are covered here. I mean, his extension runs through 2029, but there are additional 4 void years on the deal, one of which the team pushed Warner's option bonus into, which was 2030. So if his play begins to dip, the Niners can get out of that contract in 2028 without any financial repercussions at all. So I think that Warner deal, very, very favorable for the 49ers. All right, that does it for the update. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of The Krug Show. Thanks to Mancini Sleepboard for sponsoring this video. And thanks to all of you for supporting The Krug Show on YouTube.